Welcome to WhoDooTV. Today we are talking the sale of Valiant and the craziness that happened all over the comic book world for us Valiant fans today. We got a bunch of people on here to get some different perspectives, some different views, a creator, a collector, writers, but all we have in common is Valiant fans. So going across the board, I have, my co-host in general, Jared.
Hey guys, thanks for coming on with us, and I am excited to get into this big groundbreaking news with y'all.
Yep. Then we got Chris the Bald Moose. You guys know him.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today, up and down, side to side. It's been a worn out day.
And then we got one of our Get Valiant friends, Eric.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what everybody has to say about this because reactions have been all over the board.
Oh, yeah. So we also had a good article today out on Outright Geekery about this. Josh, also Get Valiant.
What up? I'm here. I'm here to talk about Valiant. What up?
That's right. And then the amazing, the awesome guy decided to come back and join us again. Our friend Ryan Winn. Thanks for jumping on.
Awesome to be here, as always. Thanks for having me.
So, Josh, you wrote that article today. Would you mind kind of let's give us a brief of what was some of the stuff that came out in the media that you heard and the press releases?
Well, like a lot of people today, I saw the news happen, right when I got up. About 7 a.m., there was an article from Bleeding Cool just stating that Valiant had been sold, and there was no other information. So all of us were just kind of running around, with our chickens with our heads cut off. We just didn't know what the hell was going on. And then finally, the Hollywood Reporter article dropped, and in it, it stated that DMG basically took full control of Valiant. However, that kind of stuff works. I'm not privy to that information, but the big thing out of it was that Dinesh Shamdashani was going to be stepping down, and basically there were things that were written in the Hollywood Reporter article where it stated that, quoting Dan Mintz, who's the founder of DMG Entertainment, they made it sound like he had no interest in really growing the line. All he really cared about was just taking these properties, taking the IPs and putting them in films, putting them in TV shows. Later on, a press release came out, that kind of changed the tune on that a little bit, stating that, they were interested in keeping the line how it is. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And, I just offered a fan perspective on that, because when these things happen, as someone who does write for a website, these kind of things do give you a great opportunity to let your feelings known. And I kind of think, there's not enough information out there to determine whether the sky is falling or if this is a great thing. Really, I'd rather just have comics with Dinesh putting them out. That's just me. Dinesh is everybody's friend, and he's the guy who greets you at the comic book convention when you go to their booth. And he's the guy that answers questions and emails and things like that all the time, if you ever have him as a fan. So to me, looking at a guy like that, who's like your, chief creative officer, it makes me feel like, dang, wouldn't you want that guy around still? But again, just with the way that these kind of things work, like in the boardroom and things like that, he's out. But, it'd be interesting to see what happens, because, now we might have that chance even more so to get television properties and TV shows or video games. I'm interested in all those things, so we'll kind of just have to see what happens. But I just don't think the sky is falling just yet with Valiant. We can still root for the company and buy books. They're still going to come out. We'll just have to see what happens. Very, very true.
Dinesh leaving is something pretty, sad because, like you said, he's been that guy at the Comic-Con and the guy responding on Twitter, right? I know, Jared, when I got Jared involved, right, it was like, hey, dude, Dinesh. And I remember you being quite surprised at his response, of a CEO of a comic book company.
Oh yeah, you tweet at him and this guy comes back at you and, says what's up, answers your questions, retweets you. He's so involved with the fans. And it's a lot of fun. I am lamenting the fact that I didn't actually ever get to meet him, and I still hope to one day, but unfortunately that probably won't be at a Valiant booth anymore. So kind of a bummer, you know?
Right. And then I'll thank you for jumping on, Ryan. And I wanted to get a creator's perspective hearing this and kind of see your thoughts and, have you kind of give us what you're thinking.
Well, I tend to be, let's see. I try to never think the sky is falling, even if I'm getting hit with stuff. I try to stay positive, and by positive, I don't even mean hopeful. I mean, I try to just stay positive. Let's see how this plays out. It may suck today. It may suck this week. Something may turn and it's better. I'm not happy to hear this news. I'm definitely not happy to hear about Dinesh. That's a separate thing. I guess there's a Dinesh side of the story, and there's what they're doing with the properties side of the story. Where if you're talking about the Dinesh side, I've been working in comics on and off since I was 21. I'm 41 now. I've been in this business a long time. I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've studied the history. I've met the old guys that told me stories. And never in the first 10 years of my career did I ever hear about anybody like Dinesh. I never heard a story of a CEO or an executive or anyone that stepped out and up the way that Dinesh did. Bringing in the fans, being a fan himself, and none of it seeming like he's just doing it to service his bank account or anything. It seemed so genuine. It is genuine. I mean, the guy loves Valiant and loves comic books, and he loves people. I'm getting choked up here. He loves people loving Valiant. And I've never experienced anyone in the entire comic industry like this. And I've never met anyone at that level that comes to my table, comes to his inker's table at an Artist Alley thing, that asks how his wife is doing, that takes the inker and his wife out to dinner. The publisher of Valiant was the same. I'm drawing a blank on everyone's name now.
Fred Pierce.
Yes, Fred Pierce. Fred Pierce came to his inker's table. Where I know I'm making it sound like, oh, inkers are lowly, but we're not the writer, we're not the penciler, we're not the draw. So a lot of times you're not given attention by these guys, and that's fine. That's how it is. Whatever. I don't care. But it's such a joy to meet somebody like these guys. Peter Cuneo took time to get to know me. Like, all these executives took time to get to know me. And I've never had that experience in comic books. And I don't hear stories like that either. And to hear this about Dinesh, I'm not surprised he was slightly cryptic in his tweets today with just quoting the Jim Shooter quote from 2000 or whenever that was from. That didn't surprise me. He's an emotional guy, so I'm sure that, he probably just didn't want to talk too much about it today, which is why he doesn't want to join us. Because we all know, we've all had an experience where if today was just hey, we're celebrating the release of Eternity Wednesday or something, then he'd probably just jump on. He's that cool and that mellow. So this was really, sorry, one second. Yeah, it was really shocking. It really, it kind of hurt a little. But then if I'm going to go on the flip side to what's going on with the properties, it did sound a little, at first, like they just, who cares about the comic line? I know everyone was freaking out about that. Like, is the comic line going to go away? And I don't see that happening because there does seem to be a lot of copying Marvel's method going on. So, and I almost think that may be why, if Dinesh was pushed out or voted out or however it may be, it may have something to do with we're not getting stuff done quick enough or something, where I feel like Dinesh knows that this has always been a slow process. It was a slow process to get the comics out. It was a slow process to get anything done. It's just a slow process to get good quality work done. And I don't think they're going to get rid of, I don't think they're going to crap on the comics right now, because they still need just like Marvel needs the comics going so that they have the IP for those, the intellectual property for those. They have to keep those going. I think you're going to see that with Valiant. They got to keep the comics going to keep active on these other things. I'm just fearful of the first goal not being comics with them. you know, because that's what it's always been from the original shooter incarnation of this. It was storytelling. Good stories will sell, and good stories mean good art and all that stuff too. That's, we're talking comics. Good stories.
Right.
So if they're smart, they're gonna keep Jeff Lemire and Matt Kent around. They're gonna keep these awesome writers around, trying to make these properties great. I think a lot of what they're doing is, again, trying to copy Marvel or Disney, where they want to bring, he said he wanted to unify sort of like the comics and the movie world. And that sort of comes into like, well, they'll want you to, anything you design in the comic, they want it to be translatable to a movie or a video game or anything. So even if you're coming up with a bar that Quantum and Woody meet at or hang out at, well, let's have a discussion because we need to design it in a certain way so it fits these aesthetics and that we can use it later, you know, from characters to settings, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think they're just looking to push forward in that sort of Marvel Disney marketing way. That's my guess.
Right. And I think that's the part that can scare a lot of Valiant fans right now from what happened with, you know, Acclaim Comics, with the push and drive to have these books kind of reflect what's happening on the video game screen. We all remember Turok on, you know, Nintendo 64. And so I think that's where a lot of the fear comes. And then what happened there. And yeah, and I wanted to get your perspective on it, Chris. I mean, I know you just got getting a hold of some DMG books.
Yeah, and there was just a nice little sale going on too of some CGC 9.8s. And I've been trying to look at this from a positive light. I'll admit, in the beginning, I was pretty negative, sourpuss, if you will. But there's a few things that were said that I think, if done right, could be something that's a very big bonus, a very big plus for us. We've all said that everything's going to be marketed towards the movies, and in this I agree. But in order to have good quality books at the low level of which Valiant is, you have to have a quality story. Now, that's not saying that it may suffer a little bit from exactly what Ryan had said, but you know, there's that possibility. And I would say that today's sale of CGC, which I think they sold at around $8.75 each, which is still, for a Valiant book, pretty darn good, but nowhere to what a month, maybe 2 months ago, when they were about $1,200 to $1,500 each. I think this will be the lowest point that you'll see them, because the first 5 movies are slated to be The Bloodshot and The Harbinger. I really do think that you're going to see this being the dip that we saw maybe a year and a half ago in The Harbinger. When The Harbinger, back from 1992, dollars. Its price.
Well, it looks like Chris is having a little technical Wi-Fi difficulties right now.
Back up when we these books.
He's back. Oh, I spoke too soon. I'll be quiet now.
Point to see. Yeah, things are getting a little blurry from you guys.
Yeah.
But you hear me okay?
There we go.
All right. I don't think that that it's going to go through the ebb and flow and the ups and downs. I think with the name of the company that just purchased them on the book themselves, and them there being so few of these books like this and Harbinger and some of the collectible books that we have are going to continue to rise. Money influx always does wonderful things. So from a collector's point of view, I see a lot of positive things that could, I'm not saying they will, that could come from this topsy-turvy kind of a day. No doubt in my mind that the recent sale that just happened today was a direct reflection of the news that we heard today. But I think that's going to be a flash in the pan. I think it's going to be upwards, especially the first Harbinger book and the Bloodshot and Harbinger DMGs and some of the more desired variants.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because we asked for other media. We asked for multiple media. We were asking for Ninjak versus. We wanted the movies to hurry up and come out. And now like there's this thing saying, hey, you're gonna get it because we're gonna, we want it now. And that's like, I think Ryan, like you said, like that's kind of what seems like was wanted. Hurry up and get it out. It's not happening fast enough. And is it, be careful what you wish for. And I know one of the first movies coming out is Bloodshot, and one of the biggest Bloodshot fans I know is Eric there. And just get your 2 cents on this whole thing, Eric.
I was pretty much experiencing the same thing that Josh described earlier. I woke up in the morning and it was just that Bleeding Cool article saying there was a sale, and then slowly getting more information throughout the day, finding out that it included Dinesh leaving. So kind of like Ryan said, there's the 2 sides to what's going on. There's the, what direction is the company going because it's now owned by another company, and the fact that now we have this beloved figurehead of this, that you can't, like, as a Valiant fan, you can't explain what Valiant is to somebody else without talking about Dinesh and like the culture that he has created around this this publisher and the way that he drives the books. And like everybody says, he was always so responsive, he always cared, and it just seems like he created a culture and infected everyone else at the company with that attitude. And I just I worry what it's going to be in the future. And I've also just been trying to stay positive while at the same time, preparing myself for the worst, hoping for the best and being ready for bad things to come. Now, if this means that we keep the creators around, like Ryan was also saying, that we've known and loved people who've done books and been consistent, when you have something like the Divinity series into eternity and you've had these consistent teams, if that starts getting messed with, that's going to be really hard to deal with. If we have to have a lower quality of art and consistent artists on books all the time, just because they want to push it out monthly, and we get an issue number 100 of some title just because they want to keep that number. And I don't know. I think there are people that'll be happy about that, but I think a lot of the core fans are not going to be happy about that. So it just is it's all speculation at this point. That's all I can really say at the end of the day. But hoping for the best.
Right. I mean, I definitely hear exactly what you're saying there. And I do love the foundation. And you spoke of culture that Dinesh left. And like, that's a huge, I think that's probably the legacy piece that we're going to get, is just that culture of being focused on the fans and then the story, right? It's the story, and then the fans. And that's something Dinesh kind of definitely put in there, and caring about his people. I remember, being at a Warp Tour with Hunter Goranson. He's like, oh, Uncle Dinesh has got this, and it's just like, you speak of his employees speaking so well of him. It's really cool. It says a lot about the guy. And I know one thing that I would assume one thing Dinesh really cared about was how he's leaving the guys who are working for him, the staff and the creators. I think that's some of the things that he probably cared a lot about. And it sounds like what you were saying, how he'd come to your table and cared about the inkers, something he cared about. And it sounds like a lot of that has been that way too. I mean, Miko got on the Facebook with Valiant fans, and he was talking, if Warren's gone, I'm gone. And so it was kind of cool to see that relationship that is a unit there. And that's what I'm scared about, is that unit being broken up. Jared, what are you thinking, man?
There's a lot to this to consider. For those of you guys who watch our live show a lot, I can be kind of hard on Marvel as much as I like the properties. And I really hate to make this I guess, connection here, but it is what I'm afraid of. Marvel has become much more of in a lot of their titles, a mirror of the films. Which is tough because, I go out and see the films and it's great. And then, I see Thor's hammer broken in the next issue of Thor. And it's like, well, I already saw that. Well, give me something new. Give me something that's better. It seems that the the comics are being used as a vessel to get other viewers to the theaters. They'll see that broken Thor hammer on the cover and they'll go see that new Thor because I saw that in the trailer. And I don't want that. I want them to really be a focus, continue their focus on comics. And we know that from what I've heard, Dinesh has set up a 2-year plan. They know what's going to happen 2 years down the road. So I don't think we're going to see any huge significant changes to the comic releases or anything, the titles that are coming out. We're still going to get Harbinger Wars 2. We're still going to get Shadow Man. We're still going to get those things down the line that are going to be great that they've already planned for. It's after that I'd be concerned about, especially with Dinesh leaving as chief creative officer as well, being able to bridge these things. And I really hope that they bring on somebody that loves the IPs as much as everybody there already does. If they can promote from the inside, great, please do that. And I just hope with all my heart that they keep the comics in their forefront. And if we get awesome movies out of this, if we get that Quantum and Woody show, if that Dr. Mirage thing gets working with that CW stuff, I mean, that would be awesome. That would be great. I just don't want that to be their number one, and let's just keep to the roots here. And I know that's been said over and over and over again. But there's also like the sales side of things too. I'm curious to see like what kind of changes that might be made. Will we get some reprintings of hardcovers, deluxe edition hardcovers? I don't know. That would definitely drive up the value of, the VEI ones compared to the DMG. But, people who want some of these limited things might be able to get their hands on those, which could be really cool for a lot of fans, and give them an opportunity to be able to actually get into, some of the older stories in these great, awesome, tomes of books here. So I don't know. It's kind of one of these things where it's going to be really interesting to watch. I think for the short term, these next, year and a half to 2 years, we're going to be sailing smooth, and I'm happy for that. And I love the characters as much as anybody else. And I mean, I'll probably keep reading. Yeah. I will definitely be keeping reading on these.
And online, NES Master 80 says, I hope none of the writers and artists leave, as well as from everybody I hear and from what I've talked to Warren as well. And, maybe you could speak on that connection there more a little bit, Ryan, on why there's that. I mean, you gave us some of the tie-in, but like why it's good to work for Dinesh as well, and that creative piece that he brings to the table.
Gosh, it's weird because I don't even think about it as in working with Dinesh, because I don't talk to him on a daily basis. We deal with the editors, and I deal with Trevor and David or whatever in colors. But man, like you guys were talking about the culture that Dinesh put into place there. You get guys like David and I who were big Valiant fans in the old days. And then when the new Valiant started, we were working at DC, and then I left mainstream comics. I knew what was going on with Dinesh and stuff, but like I left mainstream comics years ago after I worked on the New 52 for a while. And what brought me back into comics was Jeff Johns introducing me to Dinesh and getting to know those guys. And I was like, okay, if I get a chance to work on Valiant characters, which I loved when I was in high school, and I get to work with these guys, I'll leave the design world, or I'll come back to comics and I'll do this. And that was, it was because of Dinesh. They have Trevor Harrison and a bunch of other creative pencilers that I wanted to work with, but there's great pencilers everywhere. Every company's got great pencilers. I could find something if that's all I was looking for, but I really wanted to work with people that I felt were going to care as much as I do. Like, even though I'm the inker, like, it's stupid how much I worry about how much people pay for each of these issues. Like, when I'm like, oh, I can hurry up and get this panel done, and I'm like, dude, somebody's going to spend $2.99 or $3.99 on this, spend another 10 minutes on that background. So like, I'm always thinking like that, but I wasn't always working with publishers that
That's
thought
awesome.
And Dinesh thinks like that. Dinesh is like, no, let's stay up 2 more hours and let's get it right, because it'll be that much better for everybody. And that sort of top down, or that sort of attitude works top down. Like, you can always tell how a company is if you're at the bottom, you can tell by people's attitudes what the top is like. And when you're dealing with like, I was dealing, when I was at DC, you talk to another inker, or colorist, or letter, everyone, I hate this, all privately, complaining about stuff. You get a bunch of us Valiant guys on the horn, we're like, dude, this is awesome. How awesome is Valiant? How cool is it? And that's all because of the top down from Dinesh. So someone like that leaving, they've got great editors. Hunter's great. Josh is great. They still got great people all around because he surrounded himself with great people. But it's going to be hard to keep that energy going. Maybe that sounds frank or something, but I don't know. He's the spark. Yeah. Dinesh is a spark, and I don't know how long the fire can keep going without him.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was at ECC and I had my 1%er costume on, and he stops in the middle of the panel going, oh my God, it's a 1%er like cosplay. That's freaking cool. And so like, I don't know, that was just cool personality where it's like, it's not all too business all the time. It's let's have fun. Mm-hmm. And that was just cool to see that. It wasn't like, we have to be this straight way. Let's have fun with it. And in the comic chat right now, they're talking a lot about why he's not staying on as the CCO, the Chief Creative Officer. And a lot of my opinion on that, and I kind of sounds like what we've all said, is the creative control, is wanting to make your properties for movies, for TV, for video games. And like I say, and Dinesh being the Chief Creative Officer, he wants the story right. He wants it right. And that's kind of what he's always is, don't jeopardize the story just for putting out Ninjak Versus or whatever the story may be. He wants to get it right first. So yeah, that's another piece that was interesting. And yeah, like I said earlier offline, and I'll throw this out there. Let's get some just chat on this. What a better time for Dynamite to pick up Dinesh for those gold key properties.
No.
All the head shaking. All the head shaking going on over here.
No
way, man.
You wouldn't want him with Magnus and Solar and Turok?
Here's the thing, man. Like, those things are so far removed now that, like, nobody really needs them. Like, they're not done very well there. And look, I don't mean to be a dick. I know that we have a professional person in the industry, like, with us here. But I look at their books at Dynamite, and their books are ugly. Man, like, I mean, you need more than just like good writing on them, man. You need like a lot of stuff like to make those books work. And what makes those properties work was how the people that actually want them had them like 25 years ago. Give me those versions that existed 25 years ago. I'd be a little bit happier, but they don't exist. That's not what you're really reading over there, And I've tried, man. I've tried hard.
But that's why you need Dinesh.
I think it would take rather this to like make those work.
I would rather he like curate a new set of creators and create his own like fucking Dinesh comics, right? Like I would read Dinesh Shamdasani comics all day long.
A creative line, like if he started his own image kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Or he could do his own shared universe and like do like, I don't know, man. There's so many ways you could do it, but if he was involved and he was like, overseeing the creative process, like, I've read so many stories of, the writers' retreats that they would do, getting, Dinesh and all the writers together and going over the ideas of what, they're going to do so that writers can collaborate and have a unified universe, even if every character doesn't show up in every book every month. But yeah, I mean, if you get him putting a team together like that again, I will be there. I will buy those comics. I don't care what the name, the name. I would prefer it not to be Dynamite, but whatever it was.
or bring back another Jim Shooter publication, Defiant Comics.
I've heard that a little bit in my browsing. There's been a handful of people that have asked for the Defiant universe to come back. Again, I don't know how that would work. It could work, but that's an even smaller market. And I don't know what they would actually gain and maybe it's because I don't know much about the Defiant universe, but I don't know how big, how great it was, and how it could be.
I don't think they could, because I think that that's all Shooter's thing, and I don't know if Jim Shooter wants to necessarily work with Dinesh.
It didn't seem to work when they tried this last.
Yeah,
one.
Right.
And
But
I don't even know any details on that. I just know it was like, and then.
but you know, one thing I would like to say though about the Defiant properties is that, you know, the reason that they went out of publishing wasn't because people didn't buy the books. They just lost all their money fighting a lawsuit with Marvel over the name Plasm. So like people did like them, you know, they did sell books, but I don't know. I kind of think that like what Eric is saying is like the way, like Dinesh is a guy who his creators like working with him, you know, and he's a good dude. Like I feel like if that guy set up shop somewhere and was just like, hey, like me and like, you know, 5 writers and 5 artists and 5 inkers or however many it needs to be, we're setting up our own thing. Like I think a lot of people, just because they've met him, I think based on just that, a lot of Valiant fans would support Dinesh on that. And then he's got the other opportunity of just making new fans. He doesn't. Go to a convention that he was at, you know, like, isn't that how you got hooked up with all this, Chris? Like you went to Emerald City and just bumped into Dinesh and he sold you on the
Oh my goodness,
the books. I mean, like he's got that ability just to make fans.
Yeah, I remember the first time I met him a couple of years back, and he said something that I use as a quote all the time when I talk to new Valiant fans or people who have been longtime fans. He had said something about him being a fan of fans. That's something I took to heart. He was a true fan of the fans, and he was excited about your excitement, and that really stuck with me. Absolutely, yeah. The first time that I talked to him, it was mainly because a kid that I should say kid, he's in his 40s, but a guy that I knew way back in the day, he suggested I go check him out. And from that point, talking to the guy, I didn't even know who he was. I thought he was, you know, he had a nerd boss hat on. And I thought, you know, when he said, I'm the boss of all these nerds here, I thought he was just running the booth. You know, he was just like the top guy that was running the booth. I'm like, okay, this is cool. This guy knows a lot. He's cool. And talking with them, and it took me a minute for the name Dinesh to sink in because I knew I read it somewhere. Boy, I said, wait a minute. And he goes, yeah, that's who I am. And yeah, from that point, I thought, well, how great is a company that does that top guy comes down to see the lowest of lows. Now, if he does that somewhere else with Dinesh Books, sign me up. I'm going to follow that guy. Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah, there's going to be a built-in fan base, right? I mean, you look at that, and I think it was David Barron I was talking about that we were talking with at one time. He says just the Valiant fan base, like they follow you when you do something. Like if you do another project, if you're on another book, there is like, you know, they'll follow you. There's a community, right? We talked about the culture. Now there's a community of Valiant that's around, and that's part of the culture that Dinesh built to where, you know, Lemire does a book, people are Valiant fans are going to go get it because, oh, he does Valiant as well. And just on a number of, you know, titles that's going to happen with Stained, you know, a lot of Valiant fans went in and got Barron's book for Stained. And rightfully so, it's a good book too, but there was a lot of people that jumped into it head first because of that relationship as well.
I did the same thing with Black Hammer. I don't know if any of you guys read that. I picked it up because it was Lemire. I got into Justin Jordan's writing because he did Shadow Man, and he's now one of my favorite writers. You know, like, yeah, I follow people because they work with Valiant, because I love it. It does feel like that community, because once you work on a Valiant book, I feel like you're part of the family now. You know what I mean? And I want to see what you got to do. And I might not buy everything from everybody, but I definitely want to check it out, you know?
Yeah. One of my favorite books right now is Grass King's Matt Kent, you know? When that came out, I dig it. It's good. And that wouldn't have been if Matt wasn't with Valiant. I'm not sure I'd notice that book. So I do like that there's that. And like you said, a Dinesh, Dinesh Books, whatever, that would be Nerd Boss Publication or whatever you want to call it. It would rock and roll.
There you go.
Boom.
So if you guys, I don't know if any of you guys are watching the live chat that we got going here, but Outright Geekery has been talking to Dinesh a little bit, and it sounds like he does plan to come back. He will be back, and currently it sounds like he's going to buy some expensive comics to ease the pain. So good for him. I look forward to his return.
I have a couple of those Luz La Rosa Divinity variants from the first series. If he wants to buy some of those from me, I still got a couple of those.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and like we're talking, it's kind of like it stinks that there's this little cloud above us right now, because on Wednesday a freaking awesome book closes out, Eternity #4. Ryan, I think most of us got to look at that already. Great job, dude.
Oh, thank you. I forget that you guys get the advanced copy like days before.
It's a beautiful book. I've been enjoying the heck out of it. I mean, line work is killer on that one. So good job on that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
I may be the only one in this panel that hasn't picked up that book yet, specifically because I want to see it in paper in my hands.
That's fair.
I read a lot of digital comics. I don't even read the scripts for Divinity or Eternity. I wait till I get the issue in my hand and I read it. And because I'm such a fan of Matt Kint, and he puts so much more from the time it's scripted to the time it's printed. It's totally different anyways. Look at that hair scene cover.
But yeah, thing is beautiful. This is #3. I haven't got #4 yet, but
I think 4. Oh man, are we going down? Are we talking about 4? Are we?
I don't think we can. We can't get.
No, it's not out till Wednesday.
No
we can't get
spoiler. No spoiler.
Spoiler
alert!
It was the only issue, the first issue so far, that I could only pick one page to preview because I thought everything else was a spoiler. I was like, no, I can't show anything. Where usually there's at least 7-8 pages you can show as a preview for our Divinity books, and you can't tell what's going to go on or what's going to happen. But man, there were these pages, and I'm just like, I can't show this, I can't show that. And if it wasn't a spoiler, it was just a really cool image by Trevor that I think deserves to wait and be seen in the story. But yeah, I'm equally bummed and excited that this story has come to an end.
I think the saddest thing that Valiant fans, I hate to say, have to look forward to, but one of the saddest things, at least it's kind of occurred to me, is that with the outline that DMG has put up, books like this probably won't happen again, because these are books that are not. Divinity is not a book that's made to be a TV show or a movie. It was meant to be a comic book and a fantastic, outlandishly over-the-top story. And for Divinity / Eternity to come to an end like this, it almost kind of seems fitting. But sadly, I think, Valiant fans, this may be the last book that you see that is just spectacularly over-the-top, fantastic, luscious in every way. Like that perfect cheeseburger you go to for comfort food.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, Chris. And you're speaking to my heart and my stomach there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're actually going to put on the trade paperback. It's like a cheeseburger.
Like a cheeseburger.
Yep.
Good cheeseburger.
Tastes so good. But yeah, that's a great point, Chris. I mean, because it's one of those things that it's uniquely made for that. And it would be a challenge to do that in another medium. Mm-hmm. Very big challenge, because I mean that is all of that art put in the story, and then just the reference in it and the heart. Yeah, I agree, and so it's a big piece to that.
Well,
storytelling art.
Well, also you're looking at the fact that when Valiant did that was one of the first big things that didn't come from the universe. It wasn't a property from 25 years ago. We all look at it as an analogy of solar, but Divinity is far different, and a lot of times, some companies don't want to do that, but I think honestly, and this is just my opinion, I could be wrong. I might find out that I become wrong, but companies want to grow their IPs. They want to have as many as they want. So, you know, we might actually find ourselves in a situation where DMG shows up, and if the movies are popular, they might just want people who are creating them to keep creating characters. You know, they want to just have so many characters that they can do things with. You know, they need a character that can adapt to whatever kind of situation that they're going to put in a movie. So I don't know. You know, I think that Valiant took the chance on it when it came to Divinity, and also like with things like Dr. Mirage and Savage and things like that. I think they might do more of that kind of stuff personally. You know, we'll just see. The problem is that they only put out 6 books, you know, so everything is just jammed. You know, you're just stuck waiting to see like when Shadow Man comes back. But, you know, when he comes back, there's still only like 5 or 6 books a month, you know, like the line's a little small for, I think, growing it.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking if, you know, going back to that Dinesh starting his own publication or his own group, going back to that, you know, you start with Kent. Look how many new characters that, like him and Heiser, if you had him and Heiser doing their own books, look how many new characters they produced just in 17 alone. The Red Brigade, all the Divinity characters, the Secret Weapon characters. I mean, there's, man, a lot of brand new IPs just in this last year. And so it definitely contributed a lot to that. So on the chat, Amy Okamoto says, Ryan, we love your work with Valiant. Particularly enjoyed your contribution to the craft of comics.
Wow. Amy's awesome. And thank you, Amy. She's joined us too. Just another, God, see, that's another thing with Valiant. I've met so many amazing people. I don't mean this in a kissing butt way either. I hate using the word fans now, because when I'm talking to other Valiant readers, I'm immediately talking to friends. So like Amy and Dan Moeller, all these other people have just become like part of my life. So it was really weird. Like, I don't know, today it almost feels like we all lost a family member or something like that, you know? It was kind of weird. So I love that Amy's chimed in. I love she's watching. What's up, Amy?
That's awesome.
I actually want to say that's exactly what I've been feeling like. Like, I expected that we were going to talk a little bit about the Dinesh thing, and then we would talk about like the actual like direction things are going, what we know about DMG and all those kind of like businessy stuff. But like all that any of us can really like, and I'm not saying I'm really any different, but all that any of us can really think about is like, where are we going to be without Dinesh? Like, you almost feel, I feel like the only way that we're going to be able to feel like this is the same publisher is if they find some other Dinesh-esque guy to come in and kind of corral the creators together and have a vision. Because if you don't find another guy like that, and it does turn into just, you know, production line for fodder for movies and video games and whatever, like, yeah, I mean, that's going to be, it just seems like it all hinges on Dinesh. Like, I think a lot of us would have taken this news differently if his departure wasn't involved. And
oh, totally.
I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
It's so weird to think about how big of an impact, you know, because when we think about the number of people involved in each book and how many books there are, even though it's a small line, like how many books have been published and all the other people on the editorial staff and the sales staff and the management and all these other people involved in this company, and any one of them probably could go and we wouldn't have anywhere near the same conversations that we're having. Like, Dinesh wasn't the only one that left, right? Like,
I heard Peter Cuneo or the Cuneo boys might both be gone.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, we're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like a couple other people left, but we're not talking about that, right? Like, I don't know, man. I mean, that's the thing that has me worried about this company moving forward, is that he was such a big part of what made it what it was, that it's really hard to know what we're going to have and to have any hope of feeling the same way about the books.
Well, I think we're going to get a great...
Going to fill that role. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I think we're going to get a great feel of that come Emerald City Comic Con. That's the first big con. Valiant's already got 3 of the 4 days set up. I do believe there's going to be a surprise 4th panel that they will have. On Sunday, they have a Ask Valiant Anything Day. It's a panel where you just ask nonstop questions, whatever you want to know. You throw it at them. I really want to know who's going to take over that spot of the hype machine that Dinesh was. I also want to know who's going to field the questions. Everything that Dinesh did, fielding the questions. Ben Hung, who's now the new, I guess you'd call him the CEO, the new CEO for the comic book side, which is he was former Marvel Studio CEO. He's going to be involved. Is he going to be the guy that's trying to fill those shoes? If so, man, I'll tell you something. You got some shoes to fill, and you can't slip up, Ben. You can't slip up one iota. I mean, is Dan going to be there? Is Mintz going to be there at Emerald City? We're going to know that. We're going to be there, and we're going to be able to tell you what that first feel is going to be like, because this right here, it will be their first test.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's just around the corner too. And that Ask Valiant is going to be a good panel to be at, and Jared and I are going to be there. So put in your questions if you maybe want us to ask them why we're there. Put that in the comments. Try to put, and we'll try to get those down. Try to see what we could ask why we're there. So put that, maybe get your voice out there on some of those videos that we'll do for that.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, like, where does it go now? You know, where does it go? I know we have Harbinger Wars 2 ready. Like Dinesh has always said, like Jared said earlier, he's got 2 years out. He's got an idea of what's coming 2 years out. And what's next? You know, where are we going to be led to? Are we going to hear more about this Vin Diesel Bloodshot news? That is, you know, they've said sites have been set. That's set up. And again, the age-old question: when we're going to see Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe?
Will we see Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe? You know?
Who knows?
Yeah, I think all we can do at this point is speculate. You know, I mean, a unicorn could be brought in to run Valiant at this point. Yeah, who knows, man? I mean,
we had our unicorn. His name was Dinesh.
I know, that's so true. He was the diamond in the rough.
And he was so fluffy.
So fluffy. But yeah, where are we? William Pace says, at the panel, get a Dinesh chant to start. So we will try that. We will try that.
Remember,
yeah.
Pour one out for him.
2 beats. Dinesh. Dinesh. That's how you got to do it. And then they'll everyone else doing it.
That's perfect.
Don't try to do his whole
That is perfect.
Lose the whole crowd if you try to do his whole name in the chant.
Yeah. We'll do it.
Do the whole name. Now I want you to try to do the whole name.
Actually, it's got a ring to it.
It does work.
That's right.
I'll start mine at the Long Beach Comic Con in a few weeks.
Nice.
We'll get it going around the country.
Oh. And so, and one thing that I believe is, you know, I don't know for a fact, but I believe Dinesh is watching. So I do want to say thank you, Dinesh. You made a fan out of me. The books made a fan out of me, but you also made a fan out of me as well, to want to keep coming back. So thank you.
Hey, that guy gave me the opportunity to work on my favorite comic book character ever, Divinity. I know I will never work on another book that touches me in the same way. I'm fine with that. I don't expect there to be another book that I feel that way about. So yeah, hey, thanks for that, Dinesh.
Yeah, thanks for creating such an awesome universe for us to just get into week by week. It's been a blast, man. You really killed it, and we just appreciate all that you did. I personally appreciate that.
Dinesh is watching because he created something that I am passionate about, almost obsessed about. My brother-in-law says I'm obsessed already, but I love Valiant.
You're just a regular Valiant fan. That's what we all do. Sorry, keep going, Chris.
And it's because of him that I collect and I do all the things that I do. I mean, with the guys that I hang out with here, other guys that don't do the show with, that collect and we talk Valiant stuff. He's the reason. He's the root.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing I was saying before, man. When you tell people about Valiant, you tell them about Dinesh and, you know, the passion that he has and how that comes through on every page of every comic that you buy with their logo on it. And it's hard to think of what's coming next for the company. And I know that we're all waiting to see, if Dinesh takes another step into comics or, what he does next. But like we've been saying before, if a new Dinesh comic venture happens, there's definitely a built-in fan base, and a lot of us will be right there at the head of the line, ready to go.
Yep.
The way I look at it, like a lot of my involvement writing about comics and doing the podcasts and in these video casts, it's because of like how Valiant previous to this moment was set up. When you get a chance to interact with not only Dinesh, but just like the staff of it, and I have dealt with Hunter in the past, like through email. He's very helpful with sending files to us whenever we need like review copies and things like that. Valiant's always been really good and gracious about, giving us items for giveaways, and, like Ryan was saying, that stuff comes down from the top, and Dinesh has gotten his guys and gals just, they're so helpful and so useful that, it's not uncommon for us to friend them on social media because we can interact with them, and I feel like I wouldn't do all that I do as either like a person who writes about the industry or talks about Valiant if it wasn't for what Dinesh set up. I couldn't do this with another publisher. I couldn't do Get Marvel because no one at Marvel is going to take the time to respond to Eric and I in our podcast, so thanks to Dinesh for that.
And we could speculate all day long on what caused it. What was the piece that pushed it? Was it the just impatience? Was it the money? Was it the sales? And that would all just be speculation. And I think that would just be spinning our wheels for no real purpose. But ultimately, like that, yeah, something's changed. There's going to be a creative difference, and we're going to keep reading Valiant because we like the characters, and hopefully that culture lives a legacy. I mean, I think that's what I'm going to call it. The Dinesh legacy lives on within Valiant, and they keep worrying about the stories that once was Shooter's job, and Dinesh kind of brought it back in full form. And that's kind of my last words there, is to keep reading that. And then let's follow Dinesh. Anytime you want to come on, Dinesh, we would love to have you, chat with you. You're always more than welcome, a friend of a show. And like Ryan said, you're not just a Valiant whatever, you're Valiant friends, Valiant family. And yeah, it's ongoing. So I'm leaving this open for whoever else wants to give a chat. I'm good.
One thing I want to say real quick, don't look at this as like the end of like people's enjoyment of Valiant. I mean, you still have Fred, you still have Warren, and they're going to do everything they can to put out great comic books, and to make sure that guys like Ryan and all the other creators that we like are, doing their job and putting out books, I mean, so I know it's easy to sit there and be negative, and I've heard people say that they're done, like I'm done reading the books. Don't be, man, because, at the end of the day, like Fred Pierce has been there since like day one a long time ago, man.
Making sure
like,
every book's on time.
Yeah. Valiant hasn't slipped on books. So, don't give up on them just because Dinesh is gone,
Yeah, no boycott. I heard people saying they're debating a boycott, and I'm like, no. Dinesh will tell you. I bet Dinesh will tell you not to boycott.
Yeah.
Like, keep supporting.
I would put my money on that as well.
Like, don't boycott the thing you love.
Yeah, then we were just without the books again until Dinesh buys them back again, maybe? I don't know. Maybe.
So basically, Dinesh needs to run a company and own a store.
Done.
Like, maybe we can get some money off of all those Eternal Warrior 4s he's got,
And so, yeah, I agree with that. Don't boycott it. That's a good
love
advice. And
that Divinity hardcover, ultimate hardcover that's coming out, you don't want to boycott that. I mean, geez.
No,
free.
Do not boycott that, because that's going to be amazing.
I'm so excited.
Oh yeah,
I was going to plug it. I was joking around, but like I'm excited for that.
That's the perfect way to read that series, honestly. Like, as much as like getting every issue is cool with the Divinity and Eternity and everything, like being able to read the whole Divinity story all the way through in one volume that's going to be the perfect way to read that, I think. So
I'm so excited for you guys to get issue 4. I'm excited for the world to get issue 4. It's so beautiful. Like I love it so much. I can't wait. Can we talk about that next week?
Dude, let's do it. Let's get you and David on. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be a blast.
So
A lot of fun.
I would watch that.
that would be awesome. Yeah, I want to get mine all of them from number 1 all the way through custom bound with Eternity. Yeah, that's my goal with Divinity Eternity. But with that being said, make sure you're getting Ryan's book, Eternity, that he contributed on this Wednesday. Awesome. Also, Comixology, Death Betty.
There you
She's
go.
out there. Number 0, number 1 is coming out in March, right?
February.
February. Yes. Really cool. Ryan's doing the art on that. It's very good. Follow him on Twitter. And that's at
Ryan Winn.
WINN.
Yes.
And then we also make sure you're checking out Get Valiant, Outright Geekery. Get on their YouTube as well, guys. Subscribe to those dudes. They're doing some live reviews. A lot better now that you guys have moved over to this format.
We do what you do, just not as good. You know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we're doing better. We're just more consistent.
Yeah.
Better is not.
I guess that's what I meant. The consistent, regular.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad that we cleared that up because we didn't want anybody to get the mistaken idea that we were good at something.
It's a learning process.
Oh, you guys rock.
Oh.
Selling yourself short. Check out Get Valiant, everybody. It's good stuff.
And then us here, we'd appreciate the like on this so more people can see it. Give us those subscriptions if you haven't subbed. And you'll be seeing Chris, Jared, myself on pretty regular. And, you heard it next week, getting Ryan Winn on. And then I believe we might have Mr. Barron joining us as well to talk some Eternity number 4. And then we're going to do our new comic book day, our regular little new comic book day tomorrow. So if you guys want to join us for that at 6:30 tomorrow, 6:30 Pacific time, we'd appreciate that. Check us out. Check out Outright Geekery. Chris, thanks for jumping on. Eric, Jared, Josh, Ryan, we're out. Thank you guys for jumping on the live chat. We appreciate you guys. And remember, stay valiant.
Stay valiant.